Hi, everyone. We're going to give it just a couple more minutes for everyone to be able to jump on because it just turned 10 for your guys' time. So in just a couple minutes, we'll get started. All right, guys, so let's get started. We're a small group today, so I want to thank you guys for all being here this morning on this Monday morning. My name is Sasha. I am a lead ask expert for Schwarzkopf Professional. I am based in the Chicagoland area, so for me, it's about noon. I think it's about 10 a.m. for you guys. I've been working exclusively with Schwarzkopf for the past 10 years, and I've been educating for them for the past 5. So I am super excited to be here this morning with you guys to go through a couple fun placements and a couple few new things that Schwarzkopf has coming up this fall. So since we're a small group and we've got about an hour, and I'm sure that hour will go by really fast, if there is anything that you guys have questions on that we're going through, I can see the chat box. So go ahead and type it right into the chat, and then I'll be able to get it right on there. And then I don't think you guys can unmute yourselves because this is YouTube, so it's a little bit different than like a Microsoft Teams or something like that. So if you can't unmute and talk, just go ahead and write whatever you're thinking into that chat box. Awesome. So today we're going to go through 2 new awesome color products that Schwarzkopf Professional is coming out. They're level 10 vibrance toners. And then we're going to go through the Blonde Me base breakers, which are brand new and super awesome. And I've got lots of fun swatches and things to look at. But first, let's start off with something that's really fun for fall, like a reverse balayage, right? So a lot of times when we think about our clients that are coming in, especially if they're lighter and they tend to be a little bit more solid or blonde for the summer, they typically are wanting to do something a little bit different. Maybe go a little bit darker, feel a little bit more fall, a little more winter blonde. And then we have our clients that are typically normally brunettes, and they like to go darker either way for winter. So being able to do something like a reverse balayage is a really great way to be able to give them dimension, soften up maybe their blonde a little bit, add some more richer tones in there, things like that. So I have on a mannequin, I have her sectioned off, but hopefully you guys can see her half that is done. So she was a highlighted mannequin, pretty heavy all around her hairline, underneath, really heavy kind of in the back. And I went through on her and I did the reverse balayage, which I'll show you guys. I'll show you a head sheet and her sectioning, and we'll talk about formulation. I'm here to really be able to get those really rich, strong, kind of darker pieces, but with still being able to keep her nice and light and bright around her face. So that way you guys can really get a good look at that. So first, let's talk about our placement. So I have a head sheet. I was trying to see if I could add that head sheet into the chat, but I don't think I can. But I'll show it to you guys on here. So first I'll show you guys the head sheet, and then I will go through and show you what that looks like on the mannequin. So if we take a look in this top corner here, all of our sectionings are going to be pretty simple. We're going to utilize a lot of diagonals and a lot of triangles. So in the back, we're going to have a couple just really large horizontal sections. Depending on your client's density or how much depth that you're wanting to see put into the hair is how many sections you'll take. So the more horizontal sections you take, so here I've only got 3 sections. If I were to take more sections, I'll see a lot more darkness and depth that's put into the hair. On the sides, which I'll also show you on the mannequin, but here's kind of on her head sheet, we're going to be taking those same kind of triangular, kind of zigzag sections, but more in a diagonal. So diagonals help keep everything really nice and soft when we're doing things. So especially when we're working on clients that are blonder and they want to be a little bit darker for fall and we're doing something like a reverse balayage. Typically those clients might say they want to be dark, but we all know that if we take them too dark, it scares them. So by being able to keep things in larger sections and more diagonal sections, that makes sure that the placement is nice and soft. So now that I showed you guys that head sheet, I'll put it up there one more time. And if you guys want a screenshot or take a picture, then I'll show you what that looks like on the mannequin. So on her, let me clip her up really quick. That way you guys can get a better visual. So this is going to be in our back section. So here's where I took those 3 little horizontal sections. So I've got my first bottom base piece. Then I took a second horizontal section. So again, you can see these really nice deep V's, deep zigzags that are coming off those sections. And then here is that third horizontal section in that back area. So whenever I'm reverse balayaging, I always like to start in the back of the mannequin, or I should say my client, because I really can get a good idea of where I want to see the most depth. Typically, when we see those pictures on Pinterest and all really cool like Instagram things and like that, we see a lot of that depth in the back of the hair. So by starting in the back, I can really start to see where I want my dark pieces to lay. I can really start to see where their lightness is in the hair. So if there's anything that I want to break up, I kind of get a better visual of that. So the actual pieces that we end up putting into either a foil or any medium that you like to work with, if we take a look here, we're going to be taking big, large sections off of one of those triangular pieces right here. So for example, I gave 2 sections here, bits that would go into the foil. So the biggest thing to realize is that we're creating more shadow underneath the hair. So because this section that we'll take is more narrow at the top and wider underneath, it's giving us almost an automatic depth into the hair. So what that would look like on an actual hair of a client is if this would be my first section right here. Let's see, there we go. This would be my section that's going to go into a foil, or it can lay freehand, or it can go into saran wrap, or anything that you're the most comfortable with using as you're foiling. Again, we can see that it's much wider underneath and more narrow on the top. So that almost is ensuring that we're going to see more depth underneath the hair. Because again, when we're talking about reverse balayaging, that negative space is what really creates that dimension into the hair. That's really what we're looking for. So in my bottom horizontal, any of those triangles that I see in my sectioning, that's where I would scoop off that top of that triangle, place that into a foil. My next section, I go back through and I grab that second horizontal section. And again, all of my triangular zigzag sectionings can be different. And again, on the head sheet, if you notice, I just really organically drew my zigzags in. And when I'm working on a client in the salon doing that reverse balayage, that's one of the most important things to me as I'm doing it. I'm very organic as I take those zigzags because then it looks less placed in the hair. And again, things like reverse balayaging and TZ lighting and all of those really lived-in looks that we see trending now are not very perfectly sectioned or perfectly placed. So I can take some larger zigzags and also some smaller ones, and that really creates that organic looking negative space. So this would be my second section. And again, I would grab off of that triangle. And I have a larger section underneath. There's that more narrow spot. And I'll work my way all the way up in through that horizontal area, all the way until I get to pretty much the top of her head. And this will be a really great visual because I already did the technique on her. So in that back portion where this is kind of lifted up, this was her already finished side, you can really see where by working off of those triangular zigzags, all of that really great dimension and depth that gets put into the hair. I also really like this technique because it's a very quick technique. And I work behind the chair, just like I'm sure most of all of you guys, 3 days a week. And so I like things that are very efficient and user-friendly. So that's a really great thing about this technique is that it's very user-friendly and very quick. So moving over to the sides, this is where you could see I've got a zigzag section taken out here. I do have her hairline in the front left out. And then my side sections are the same kind of organic zigzags all the way diagonally back. The biggest reasoning for leaving out her hairline is because typically most clients that want something that is a reverse balayage or want to go darker for fall, they usually like to still see some brightness and lightness around their face. So I like to leave that front hairline out, and especially even on the sides around like the ear, maybe even in the nape area, so that if I want to put a couple foils or a couple baby lights there to keep them light, I can make sure I do that. And that's exactly what I did with her was I made sure that I kept this around her hairline so that she still had foils and a little bit of lightness and brightness. So here's my top section. Here's a side section. And again, I've got those zigzags that are all in there. And we're going to go through and do that same exact technique, only we're working on a diagonal. So we'll end up taking large triangles, applying our reverse balayage tone in there, all the way through, leaving out the hairline if we want. And now we've essentially worked all the way through this side and this back area, which leaves only just my top section left. In the top section, this is where we'll work off of her part line. And you can see anywhere that these little bolded areas are in the front hairline, and same on this side in her side hairline. This is where we're seeing those little bit bolder spots. That would be where I leave that hairline out and put foils in there to keep it bright. So in the top section, I'm working off of her part. So in this case, I'm working off of a middle part. And so again, I am going to diagonally move back through that part and place the color in. So what that looks like on this mannequin and I'll explain to you guys why we're doing this, is that would be a section. And so when I take a look at her from this viewpoint, by having that be a section and come through below and not directly horizontally across her part line, I'm making sure that that darkness doesn't create a stripe on the top of her hair. So it almost hides slightly underneath that part line at that top. And it also ensures that I'm seeing a little bit more of that darkness diagonally come down. So again, I'm really making sure that things are working in V's and that everything is very soft and diagonal. So that top area, again, working all the way back that same way, applying that formula that you're using for your reverse balayage all the way back and through. And so now I'll have you guys, you could take a total look at her all the way around. That's where we see still some really great highlights. We've got depth, dimension back in the hair. But she still maintains lightness and brightness around the face. So let's talk about some of my favorite formulas that I love for when we're reverse balayaging, especially on clients that are in that level 4, 5, 6 kind of base range. And if they already have a little bit of existing color on their ends, what's really great to make sure that they don't turn hollow or turn green or murky or anything like that is utilizing the Vibrance, the Schwarzkopf Professional Vibrance Demi-Permanent line. So there's some really great shade families like the -65s, which is a chocolate gold. So it's a really nice rich tone that's not too warm. There are things like the -68 family, which is a chocolate red. So that helps really put kind of a really nice cherry cola tone into the hair. One of my two favorite families to use are the -63s, which are chocolate mattes. So, and that's what I used on this mannequin, was a level 6-63 chocolate matte. So that makes sure that it gives a really, really rich tone to the hair. Let's see, and there we go. It's a really rich, beautiful chocolate without having too warm of a tonal value. So that -3, that matte green kind of tone, which might sound a little scary, but that tone really ensures that my chocolate tone isn't getting too warm or too gold. If I wanted it to be more gold, I definitely have that option that I could go to that -65. One of my other favorite families out of everything in Vibrance for reverse balayaging is the Nude series, the -64. So this is a chocolate beige, which is really nice. So again, it's a really nice, warm, rich chocolate, but that beige tone gives it a little bit of an iridescent reflect. So you don't end up feeling like you see anything that's too warm as it starts to fade. By having those chocolate tones and some of those more beigey kind of matte tones, those really help make sure that if you're doing this over somebody that's pre-lightened, that we don't end up with anything that looks too hollow. Sometimes we could be afraid of warm tones, but warm tones are our friends in the case of when we're doing something like this over pre-lightened hair. Another family that I really, really like, and then I'll shut up about color families, is the -16s. So these are a Cendré chocolate. So Cendré for us in Schwarzkopf Professional is like a blue violet tone. So typically more of a cooler powdery tone. And that mixed with the chocolate, again, is a great tone to be able to put it in the hair to make sure that it stays nice and rich. A really other great tip and trick when you're doing a reverse balayage is that whatever that piece that's going into your foil, for example, if I was working with a section right here, oops, is that I don't always have to do the same exact tone from the very top part of this section all the way down to the ends. It's a really great trick to put your deeper formula about 2/3 of the way down. And then you can use a formula that's maybe a shade or a level or two lighter and melt that into that darker formula through the ends, that last kind of third bit. So that also gives even more of a really nice, like smoother gradient, a little bit more of a softer reverse balayage, so that you don't necessarily see strong bits of dark. If that's the look that you're going for, then that's great. And you can totally do that darker all the way through. You end up seeing more ribbons of color, and a little bit more of a higher contrast, which is really nice too. So that is some of my favorite formulas, a really great, easy technique to do a reverse balayage on our clients for fall, especially since we're getting into fall. On the flip side, there are some really fun new things and vibrance that came out, going a little bit less brunette and a little bit more blonde. So the first thing that I'll go through with you guys are the Schwarzkopf Professional Level 10 toners and vibrance that came out. So if you guys are like me and use Schwarzkopf day in and day out, we know that we've always had our 9.5 series in the vibrance. So the 9.5 series is not a level 9.5. It just means that it's sheer. It means it's the toner pastel series. So we know that those can be used on anyone that's pre-lightened, anyone that is naturally a level 9 and lighter, somebody that has white hair, and we know that we're going to get deposit only in those shades. Although a lot of times we probably have clients that we see that we highlight, and they say, well, I don't like any toner. I don't want any toner in my hair. And the biggest reason they say that is because they feel like the toner makes them darker. So I'm sure all of you guys have had that happen. I have, for sure. And so a lot of that is because they might say I want to be really ashy or really icy or anything like that. And cool tones typically make the hair darker, right? But we know that they need some type of toner so that it cancels out whatever their underlying pigment is. The level 9 or the 9.5 series might just be a little bit too deep on their level because they want to stay nice and bright, right? Well, that's why the level 10s were created. The level 10 series is literally meant to make sure that any of your blondes that you tone them with do not get deep or dark or too cool at all. It maintains whatever tonal value you're looking for without making them dark. So I've got some really fun shades and swatches that I did to show an example between the 9.5 and the 10 series. But first, let's talk about what the 5 shades are. So we've got 5 new shades. These are the swatches on what they look like. So we have a 10.5 or 10-5. So this is going to be a 10-5, which is gold. Great for keeping things nice and bright. 10-1, so a Cendré. This is going to be a blue-violet tone. So this is going to be really great for anti-yellowing. A 10-19. So this is a dash Cendré violet. So this is going to be even more anti-yellowing because, again, Cendré is blue-violet. So we kind of have a blue-violet violet. So really great for anti-yellowing, but also really great as a fashion tone because this is the 10-19 in the swatch. Let's see where that shadow is. There we go. So you can definitely tell it's a little bit more of that like violety pinky tone. A 10-12. So this is going to be anti-oranging, if that's a word, anti-orange. So Cendre Ash. So this is a blue violet blue. So the most amount of cooling, orange refining possible out of any of the 5 toners. And then we have a 10-4. So this is going to be our beige. So kind of like a cool violet, a little bit of, think of like that champagne kind of tone. So all 5 of these are the level 10s. There's only 5 so far. The really great thing too about them is that they also have bonding included in them. So you'll notice on the box, what's new from any other Vibrance is that little hexagon right there. And that lets you know that there is bond protection in these 5 shades. So they're the only 5 shades in the entire Vibrance line that has bonding. And that makes sense, right? Because if we're doing a lightening service and we're lifting the hair, you know, we're already protecting the hair with our lightener by having bond protection in there. And now in here with the FiberPlex technology, we'll be able to protect and seal and create more bonds. So already doing all of the work for us. So these are the 5 swatches. I'll show you these guys. This is what'll come in your Vibrance book. So this is the 10-1. So this is that blue violet. This is the 10-12, so a little bit more blue tone. This is that 10-19, so really creating a fashion tone if that's what we're wanting, or more anti-yellowing. 10-4, so here is that beige tone. And 10-5, so this is where we've got that really nice, warm kind of honey blonde. So what I did was I went through and I did the corresponding 9.5 shade on blonde swatches to show you compared to what that would look like on a blonde swatch with the level 10 series. So I'll show you guys what those swatches look like, and then we'll talk about mixing and how they're used, which is super, super easy. So this is the, and let me put it up against a white piece of paper for you guys. Perfect. Let's see, I'm going to turn this off. That way you could get a little bit of a better idea. Perfect. Okay. So this is the 9.5-1. So a little bit deeper. We definitely can tell it has that blue violet tone to it. This is the 10-1 next to the 9.5. So you can definitely see that it's so much sheer and it is way less depositing as what we would be looking for. So amazing for anti-yellowing and keeping blondes nice and bright. So you can definitely see that depth difference. So this is the -19, so the anti-yellowing. So this is the 9.5-19, so it's kind of got that violety pinky tone. And then there is the level 10 next to it. So a much softer version of that violet tone. Again, side by side. It's really, really sheer, which is so nice. Okay, the 9.5-12. So this is the most cooling. It's very, very, very blue toned. We know that usually if we use this one alone by itself, the 9.5, sometimes we could really see that turn blue on our clients, right? The 10-12, again, still very controlling for those orange tones, but so much sheer. So like essentially you could use that 10-12 alone and you won't get any type of that super blue deposit. So our beige, this is that 9.5-4. It looks a little, doesn't look that pink in real life. It's more of a really, really nice champagne blonde. The level 10, again, maintains that, but the depth is so much less. And then when we look at our 9.5-5, so that gold tone, so really, really nice kind of golden, warm tones. Next to the 10-5, you can definitely see how much sheer that is. Those are really, really nice. It's like a perfect, like creamy blonde. So those are what the 5 shades look like in action. Let me turn this light back on a little brighter. There we go. That's what those shades look like in action, which is great. They're so nice and sheer, perfect for those really, really nice light blondes. So any of the vibrance, of course, level 10 shades, recommended to be mixed with the Vibrance Developer. So the 1.96 volume, because again, we're looking for deposit only. So there's no reason to use the 13 volume 4% because you won't see any type of at all deposited tone. So you can definitely use it either with the gel or the lotion activator. So if you're somebody that likes to use your toners at the back bar, like a flash toner in a bottle, you absolutely can by using the gel developer. Or if you're somebody that likes to use more of a bowl and brush, you've got that option with the lotion activator too. So they're mixed 1-to-1 with developer. They can be mixed with anything within the range. So again, if you wanted to mix between the level 10 tones together, you absolutely can. There's no need to mix clear with these. That is so awesome because they're already so light and bright that you won't even end up having any type of need to dilute them. If you do add clear to them just to play and see, you'll almost find that you don't see any pigment or tonal value kind of affect the hair because they're already so light and bright. So 1 part color to 1 part developer, and they can process anywhere from 5 minutes to 20 minutes. Definitely making sure you're watching it because again, they're meant to be used on those really, really nice light pale shades. So what's really cool with that is talking about the level 10s. Now I want to show you guys a couple visuals because I've got another blonde foil placement on a head sheet to show you, but I have visuals that I've done on actual clients of these so that way you can get kind of a good idea of this. So let me show you what the placement looks like first. This type of foil placement is a very, again, efficient placement behind the chair. It's utilizing all types of diagonals. It's a very easy sectioning. You're basically going to have the back head, so the back section of the head, sides, and you'll have the top section. You can use this as a full foil, or you could definitely convert this more into like an accent foil on the top, or even a partial, depending on what you're looking for. The other beauty of this technique is that depending on the type of stitch that you use, so if you end up using like a very fine slice in your foils, you can make this very bold of a highlight. If you make your stitch a very fine baby light, or maybe more like a regular stitch, you can make this a much softer type of blonding look, which is nice. Also, the more foils that you put into this type of placement, so the higher the concentration, the more of an all-over blonding effect that you can get. If you keep your foils more spread out, so a lower concentration of foils, this will definitely be more of a higher contrast technique. This is also definitely a foil placement that you could do underneath like a root smudge or a root tap to ensure that some of our clients that are finer that like more of a natural grow out, so they want something like a root smudge, or a root top or a root mount, but they need those highlights underneath so that their hair actually gets the body. This is a great technique for that as well. So this is what that placement looks like. So first, let's talk about the back section. So in this back section, I have got her sectioned off where, so basically pretty much kind of top of the head crown area is up here in this top area. And so this is my back section. So if I were to do this type of technique as a full foil, I would split that center vertically right down and work diagonally, creating a V effect off of the hairline in those foils all the way up in my two back sections. The reason that using kind of that V technique is one, it's working off of the natural hairline of the hair, right, which kind of goes up. It's also creating more lightness higher up towards the face because, again, if we take a look at that, the lighter bit is coming up higher here just based on the way that that foil is. So we'll see more lightness around the face. And it's a really easy way to utilize your foils and cover a lot of space in the back of that head. So you're really covering a lot of area, getting through there fast. On the sides, so here is my side. You guys can see that. So again, I have my top area of the head sectioned off. This would be my back section. My side would be pretty much ear split towards the front. And I am taking these diagonally forward so that my hair in the foil is coming towards the face, working all the way up to where that top section is sectioned off of the top of the head and the crown. So again, using those foils to really make sure my placement is coming towards the face. Both of that on both sides. On her top, so let's take a look here. Essentially, this is the entire top of the head, right? So everything that might be ends of the eyebrows, working around here, and then it's split in two. So you'd have a front section and you would have a back section. So that's what this is showing you here. This is that front section of the hair. And so depending on, it doesn't matter which way you start your diagonal, moving all the way across that entire front section in a diagonal. It doesn't matter with this type of technique where she parts because this entire front area is all going to be on a diagonal. So either way, it's cutting through the part line. So you won't have to worry about not having any type of color come through the part line of their hair. That second section, this would be the pretty much top and crown of the head, is diagonals as well, but it's the opposite diagonals of the front. So whichever way you place your diagonals in here in the front is where you will switch that in that section right behind it. So both of these, they'll just be opposite diagonals going towards each other. So I want to show you guys a little bit of what that would look like on actual clients, right? So these two pictures are going to be two pictures of this being a little bit more bold. So this client that I did this on, I did it as a full foil, but I utilized thin slices when I did this. Let me turn this light off so you can get a better visual. So this technique is using thin slices. So this is what her side would look like with this foil placement. And this is what the back looks like. So you could definitely tell that there's much more of a higher contrast by using the slices. And also, if you take a look at the top, it does not look like it's very stripy. So by using those back and forth diagonals kind of in the opposite directions, it makes sure that you don't end up having anything that looks too striped. It almost essentially just looks like foils have like spilled out all over the place, which is really nice. So now an example of doing this on something, on a client that wants a little bit more of a softer effect, would be where I did the same foil placement. My client was already pretty blonde to start with, like she had existing highlights that had grown out. And so I did this more, not so much in a baby light, but more like a regular kind of stitch. And I did this only as a partial. So I did this where it was only on that top section and the sides because she already did have existing pre-lightened ends. And I didn't want to make it too bold in a sense. So let's see. So that is utilizing this technique with more of a micro stitch. Oh, excuse me. More of a micro stitch. And this is her back again. Let's see if I can get that without a glare. That is her back using the same technique with more of a micro stitch. So you can see how she had all of those already pre-lightened ends and things like that, and how by doing this as kind of a partial, it blends everything. You can also tell up on her top area, it might be a little hard to see, but you can definitely tell that it's not as bold and that those counteracting diagonals really made sure that it was nice and soft. So now this toner on her, this was utilizing the 10-1 in the Vibrance, the level 10 toners. So using, let me find it, my 10-1 with 6 volume in the gel and using that all over everything, which was awesome. I toned her probably for about 5 minutes with that. Let's see. I let that sit the spring light. So that was equal parts 10-1 in the level 10 toner with the 6 volume gel activator. She had lightened pretty well to kind of a really nice pastel inside of the banana, kind of pale yellow. And that 10-1, just straight, that blue violet cendre, made sure that there was no over deposited blue, anything like that, but kept it very, very light and bright. And that's exactly what my client was looking for out of that. So I'm super excited for these level 10 toners, and especially with using like a really fun new kind of highlight placement. It's been fun to play with the different toners and kind of see the ins and outs and how they've been like working, which is nice. So that's the one really cool thing that's coming up for fall with Schwarzkopf Professional. And then the second really great thing is we have Blonde Me base breakers. So when we talk about Blonde Me base breaking or base breaking in general, like what is a base breaker? Or like a base bust or a based bump, right? So typically that's going to be for our highlight clients that don't get an all over color. So they don't get like a touch up in between their hair. They typically are only just highlights, but they maybe don't want to see their natural as mousy or they want their natural softened, basically, right? So a base bust or a base break or anything like that is when you've gone through and you've highlighted your client typically, then you've gone through with the back bowl and you've shampooed them, and then we've been typically in the past using something like a high lift color very quickly at the bowl, typically with a higher developer, and then lifting that natural on the wet hair and then rinsing it off, right? This is what we've done for years. And it's done the trick where it's made our client, have their naturally softened, but it's kind of always either been inconsistent or it's lifted too light or it's lifted warm, very orangey, brassy, right? I think you guys all know what I'm talking about. And they like it, but maybe it's not the greatest, right? Well, so Schwarzkopf Professional came out with their Blondie base breakers to completely solve all of those problems. So the beauty of them is that they have solved everything that we needed. The Blondie base breakers, which we'll talk about, they look like this. They're super fun. What they're going to do is on natural hair, they're going to lift the natural 1 to 1.5, maybe 2 shades, depending on how fine or light your client is already, without exposing that underlying warmth. So it's giving a shift on that natural base for our clients that want to see their natural softened. It's reducing any type of warmth because they come in 3 different shades, which are all warmth counteracting. And they're ammonia free. So they're not damaging, which is so nice. So let's talk about what the shades are, right? So we have soft cool, cool, and extra cool. So there are 3 shades. Oops, that guy's upside down. There we go. In the Blondie base breakers. Soft cool is going to be for your lighter level bases. So bases like levels light, 7, 8, 9. This is an anti-yellowing. So it kind of looks like almost like a blue violet, like a cendre, kind of powdery. So meant for those levels that we see that, underlying kind of yellow, pale yellow, where that would be revealed, right? So that's like in our levels 7, 8, 9. It's around there. Next, we have cool. So cool is more of a blue tone. So again, when we're looking for, let's see if I can put that behind a piece of paper and it shows up a little better. There we go. So cool is going to be for our clients that are a little bit more in that, light 5, 6, 7, where we see a little bit more of that blue, excuse me, that blue kind of, or that orange, yellow, orangey yellow, where we need a little bit more of that blue counteraction. That's where the cool comes in. And then we have extra cool. So extra cool is going to be the most cooling out of everything. So this is going to be more for our clients that are in that darker level, like 4, 5, 6, where we see a little bit more of that red tone. Red, orange, things like that. So let me pull those guys up again. So we have cool in the middle, extra cool on the outside, and soft cool on this side. So how do they work, right? So any of the Blondie base breakers, they are really nice. They're kind of like in a Vibrance bottle, which is cool. So they're liquid. They are meant to be used, you could use it either in a bowl, in a brush, or you could use it in a bottle. They're very easily mixed. They are mixed 1 part with either the Blondie Oil Developer 7 volume or the Blondie Oil Developer 20 volume. If you're looking for less shift, we would use the 7 volume. If we're looking for more shift, we would use the 20 volume. So any of these 3 tones can also be mixed together. So let's say you have a client who she's kind of on that verge where she is a level, 7, but that when you've lifted her before that she kind of has a little bit more of a stronger kind of orangey tone that pops through. You could absolutely use cool and soft cool mixed together. So you can intermix any of these 3 depending on the needs of what you're looking for, which is also really great to be able to customize it for your client. So they're mixed 1 part color to 1 part developer. The other amazing thing is that they process for 10 minutes. So they're meant to go on. You could either use it on dry or extremely towel dried damp hair. Typically, it's a service that's at the back bar, so very quick, very easy to move through the hair that's damp. And by the time you put it on and get through to the back, maybe a couple more minutes and that 10 minutes is up and you're very consistent now. It's lifted to the lightness that you're wanting to soften the natural. It's not having too much undertone revealed. So now we've gotten rid of that warmth issue. It's quick, it's efficient, and it's going to be consistent no matter what. The last super great thing about these is that they have bond technology again in here. So they have that integrated bonding system that is in all of Blonde Me, which is so nice. So that way we know that we're sealing and creating more bonds by just using the base breaker on them, or by using a Blonde Me toner on them, or by even using a level 10 vibrance toner on them. Everything that we need when we're lightening has bond technology, which is so great. So let me show you, because we've got just a little bit of time left, which is perfect. These are some of the swatches so you guys can get a much better idea of what it ends up looking like on that actual level-based hair. So for example, this is Extra Cool with 7 volume. Let's see. I want to see if this light can be, here we go. So if you take a look at this one, let's see, there we go. You can see that level 7. And then you can see the lightness that Extra Cool has lifted it to. This is, let me find you Extra Cool with 20 volume. On that same type of swatch, by using the Extra Cool with 20 volume, so moving that up from the 7 volume, you can see just how much lighter that shade got. But it still is not warm or brassy. So for example, on this side, this is the base shade. This is what the base breaker lifted it to. So these ones, let's see, base breaker Extra Cool. So this is the soft cool. So that little bit sheerer result, the lighter, with 7 volume. So again, you can really see how nice and clean that looks. And Cool with 20 volume makes that even clearer. And then let me show you what the Cool looks like. Soft Cool. So this is Soft Cool with 7 volume. And then again with 20 volume. So you can really see how clean and clear. I know it's kind of hard with it being virtual to check it out, but you can really see like how great that these can be used for our highlight clients, especially like in those 2 examples that I showed you of the placements, where both of those clients, if they wanted in between their foil placement, their natural to be a little bit softer, I absolutely could have utilized and went back and used one of the Blonde Me base breakers to soften their natural and still keep a really nice contrast with their highlights, but see a little bit more of a brighter effect. That's really what a base break ends up giving us. It gives us a softer natural and a brighter blonding effect, which is so, so, so nice. So those are the Blonde Me base breakers. So I am so excited. Just a quick recap of what we went through. We went through everything fall, right? So a fall reverse balayage, how to create that on our client, how to customize it for our client, favorite formulas and family tones. Then we went through a really great highlight placement, which I'll show you guys both of these again. And you can screenshot those if you want. That's the foil placement. So a great foil placement to be able to customize for our clients, whether we want it bold or soft or anything in between, being able to do something a little bit different than the average foil. This was our reverse balayage technique. Super efficient, super fast, awesome for that. And then we went through the base breakers and the level 10 toners in blonding and vibrance. So two of the most fun, I think this year, innovations that are coming out in Schwarzkopf Professional. So I am super excited and super thankful that you guys had me with you guys this morning. I'm going to go ahead and pop in the chat my Instagram. So if you guys ever have any type of questions or anything like that, and you want to be able to reach out to me and ask me anything, totally feel free to. Don't forget to follow at Schwarzkopf Professional and at Schwarzkopf USA on Instagram, Facebook. We do have a YouTube channel as well. Lots of other techniques and great tips and tricks. And I want to thank you guys for all being here this morning with me, because I know it's a Monday morning. But I hope you enjoyed our hour as much as I did. And I'll see you guys soon. Thank you.